Albino daughter sold by her father to a fearsome Apache. Then he claimed her as his white moon. The sun hung low over Red Creek, staining the plain blood orange, while dust devils danced like restless spirits. Inside a weather-worn ranch house, Jacob Marlowe paced, boot heels striking warped boards. 3 drought years had turned his herd to skeletons. A foreclosure notice fluttered on the barn door. Yet heavier than debt was the fate of his only child, Aurora. At 17, she was a paradox. Powdered white skin, silver blonde braid, irises the color of garnet. Townsfolk hissed, moon curse. No local suitor dared court her. Rumor claimed the feared Apache captain Redhawk was camped in the southern canyons. Desperation made Jacob imagine a bargain, the warrior's protection in exchange for Aurora's hand. Dusk bled across brittle grass as father and daughter rode out. Jacob avoided her eye. Aurora felt foreboding settle like dust on her skirts. The Apache camp flickered beneath black cliffs. Warriors watched the settlers dismount. Jacob offered turquoise chips, then, voice cracking, offered Aurora in marriage. Gasps circled the fire. Aurora's cheeks burned. She stepped forward. "I am not stock for trade," she declared in English, then repeated in halting Spanish. Redhawk studied the tall, pale girl, spine straight, despite shame. Something in his gaze softened. Respect or curiosity? He asked Jacob, "Does your daughter choose this?" Jacob faltered, words tangled in debt and dread. "My choice is mine," Aurora said. Redhawk gestured toward a moonlit bluff. There, away from ears, he set aside his spear. His Spanish was rough but sincere. He admitted he had weighed a peacewife to bind rancher and tribe, but he would never take one unwilling. If she accepted, she would sit in council and walk unguarded. If she refused, he would grant safe passage home. Aurora looked at the moon over basalt. In Red Creek she was a curse. Here she might be a bridge. Freedom or exile waited on her next breath. She thought of empty barns and gossiping pews. "I will answer at dawn," she said. "My word alone." Redhawk inclined his head. Below, campfires crackled, and Jacob paced shadows of his own making. Aurora remained on the ridge, desert wind threading her silver hair, wondering which future would rise with the morning sun. Sleep would not come. She recalled her late mother's lullaby while coyotes cried below. Somewhere she sensed the warrior on another rock, keeping watch, yet giving her distance. Aurora drew a line in the dust with her boot. One side home, the other unknown. At dawn, the line would decide which life she stepped into. Dawn rimmed the canyon with amber. On the moon-washed bluff, Aurora had kept vigil, weighing the life she knew against the one she might forge. Below, her father waited, hat crushed in nervous hands. "Have you decided?" Jacob asked, voice thin. "I will tell Redhawk," she said. "The choice is mine." They descended. Warriors ringed the council fire. Redhawk stood, spear grounded. He gestured for Aurora to sit. No one else spoke. "Your answer, White Moon Girl," he asked in slow Spanish. "I accept if 3 terms hold." Murmurs rose. 1, I sit in council, not behind cooking fires. 2, my labor is mine to offer. 3, after 1 year, if misery rules, I may depart unharmed. Redhawk considered, then nodded. "Agreed with 1 term. You learn our ways with an open heart." "I accept." He lifted his spear and shouted an Apache phrase. Relief swept the circle. Jacob, tears glinting, slipped away toward Red Creek. His burden surrendered. Morning tested Aurora's courage. Women offered pinole. She thanked them in halting Apache, earning warm laughter. Little Fox, a 16-year-old scout, showed her the horse pens, naming each pony like poetry. At noon, Redhawk returned with a doeskin dress beaded in turquoise crescents. "Our weaver worked all night," he said. "Wear it if you wish." She nodded, humbled, and changed. As the sun climbed, Redhawk's sister, Singing Water, handed Aurora a clay bowl and invited her to grind blue corn. Stone against stone echoed her heartbeat. Fragments became fine meal, proof that pressure could create something new. Between motions, singing water pointed at objects, sky, stone, fire, speaking their Apache names until Aurora repeated them, cheeks flushing yet determined. Children giggled, trying her pale pronunciation, turning learning into play. Twilight brought the welcoming feast. A deer roasted over mesquite, smoke curled into a violet sky. Redhawk seated Aurora beside him and served her first, a public pledge of respect. Dreamweaver, the camp grandmother, pressed sunflower seeds into her palm. "Plant," the elder said, touching heart and earth. Under the rising full moon, Redhawk played a cedar flute, low and haunting. The melody poured into the cracks ridicule had left in Aurora's spirit. She whispered, "I will grow where I am planted." Far down canyon, Jacob paused to look back. He glimpsed his daughter laughing among bronze-skinned strangers. The sight carved twin wounds of loss and relief. Perhaps the curse had always been his fear, not her color. He pressed a calloused hand over his chest, muttered a prayer he barely believed, and rode on. Morning after the feast came crisp and blue. Aurora stepped from her guest hut in a turquoise-beaded dress. New light turned her into a shard of sky. Women at the metate waved. A few warriors saddling ponies stared. Curious, wary. Redhawk led up a roan mare. "For you, White Moon, learn her, she will carry you true." The mare accepted Aurora's pale hand. Trust proved harder with people. At the spring she heard whispered cheesy, "Ghost." Aurora answered in broken Apache, "Water fears no skin." A tentative smile met her words. That afternoon the council met. Hawkeyes barked. Since Moon Girl came, coyotes creep close. The spring slows. Bad spirits follow white flesh. Aurora rose. "Drought falls from sky, not skin. Judge me by deeds." Dreamweaver, camp grandmother, slapped her knee in approval. Debate shifted to hunt routes and tax rider rumors. Aurora proposed sunflowers to shade the seep, a trick from Chihuahua. Dreamweaver nodded. "Skyflower speaks sense." Near dusk, a peddler wagon arrived. Mateo Reyes brought calico and news that Jacob Marlowe planned to ride with 20 rifles. Growls rolled. Hawkeyes glared at Aurora as though betrayal had wheels. Redhawk lifted a palm. "Words are wind. When rifles ride, we answer." Few slept. Aurora climbed the ridge where she had chosen her path. Stars burned like cold witnesses. Redhawk joined her. "Counsel doubts," she whispered. "I doubt many things," he said, "but not the one who walks into fire eyes open." He set a carved cedar eagle in her hand. Next morning, Little Fox taught her the mare's gait through basalt gullies. Warriors, seeing her ease in the saddle, muttered grudging respect. At sunset, she ground blue corn with singing water. Children repeated Apache words until laughter pushed whispers aside. Yet Reyes's warning reopened old scars. Redhawk's village burned when he was a boy. Hawkeyes lost kin to border militia. If Jacob came armed, every wound would bleed again. Aurora vowed to stand between rifles and arrows. Sleep finally found her, cedar eagle warm in her fist, the mare nickering outside as though promising that daybreak would keep its word. The sun dropped behind the black cliffs, leaving a copper afterglow that set every spear tip ablaze. Despite simmering distrust, Eagle Feather had decreed a feast. Food, song, and an open gate for any neighbor brave or curious enough to cross it. "Fear dries the throat," the elder said. "We eat so our words do not turn to dust." Aurora helped Singing Water heap mesquite-roasted squash onto clay platters. The scent wafted through camp, coaxing smiles from toddlers and half-smiles from warriors who still muttered cheesy under their breath. She tried not to flinch. Redhawk's carved cedar eagle hung from her belt like silent encouragement. Smoke pillars served as invitations. At twilight, the first guests arrived. 2 mescalero cousins with turquoise conchos, a Chiricahua scout wrapped in striped serape, and, most startling of all, Mateo Reyes leading a jittery mule cart. Behind him, cheeks raw from hard riding, came Jacob Marlowe. Conversations froze. Jacob dismounted, hat in hand, eyes on the ground. In his other hand, he carried a small cedar horse, tail painted white. Red Hawk stepped forward, spear grounded but unfriendly. Aurora's pulse hammered. She swallowed fear and approached. "I came unarmed," Jacob said, voice husked by trail dust. "I heard talk of rifles, not mine. I just needed to see if you were safe." Warriors tightened their grips. Aurora raised a palm. "Father, I stand here by choice. You once called me burden. They call me bridge. If you love me at all, honor that." Jacob's gaze climbed, layer by layer, until it met hers. Shame bent his shoulders. He offered the carved horse. "For your new lodge, symbol of better roads than I gave you." Aurora accepted, fingers brushing his for the first time since the canyon bargain. The touch was brief, but the effect spread like rain across dust. Dreamweaver cackled and clapped. "Good! Stone hearts crack when daughters speak." Eaglefeather motioned Jacob toward the fire's outer ring. Guest, not prisoner. Food passed hand to hand, venison, blue corn cakes, chili sweetened with prickly pear syrup. As moonlight silvered the cliffs, music began. Little Fox tapped a rawhide drum. Singing Water's voice threaded the beat with a song of rivers finding ocean. Red Hawk lifted his flute and, to Jacob's surprise, wove a refrain, pulled from an old frontier hymn, one the rancher's late wife had sung over a cradle 17 summers ago. Emotion hit Jacob like hoof kick. He dropped to one knee, hat shading wet eyes. Aurora knelt beside him, braid brushing his coat sleeve. No words passed. The song carried what both lacked courage to say. Meanwhile, Hawk eyes prowled the perimeter, still unconvinced. When he sneered, "Gifts do not erase bullets," Red Hawk answered, "True, but every loaded rifle once lay as harmless iron in the earth. Metal learned cruelty. It can relearn use." He handed the captain an unstrung bough and piece of cedar. "Teach her carving. It will steady anger." Reluctantly, Hawkeye's sat, knife clicking. Laughter bloomed in pockets. Children tugged Aurora's pale braid, giggling at how it catches moonfire. She showed them how to braid wild iris stems into bracelets. The youngsters crowned themselves with glowing loops, racing until sparks of silver light pinwheeled across the dark. Near midnight, Jacob stood to leave. He placed the flogged felt hat on Aurora's head, symbolic passing of burdens into her own keeping. "Your road is yours," he whispered. "I'll tell the town you're where you belong." Red Hawk escorted him to the ridge. No guard, only witness. Father and daughter shared a last look across firelight, then the rancher rode into night, a lighter man than the one who'd come. Back at the blaze, Dreamweaver pressed sunflower seeds into Aurora's hand. "Plant tomorrow. Bridges need roots." Aurora nodded, feeling weight and lift at once. A faint breeze carried cedar flute notes into the sky, twining with smoke and prayer. Suspicion had not vanished, but something older than doubt, perhaps the stubborn will of seeds, had been sown among them. When embers settled, Red Hawk found Aurora gazing at the carved horse. "Does it lessen the hurt?" he asked. "No," she said, sliding the figure beside the cedar eagle on her belt. "But it proves the hurt can move." She faced the cooling fire, imagining rows of sunflowers taller than fear, their faces all turned toward the same relentless light. Scout dust warned, 15 riders, Clay Benton in front, Deacon Crow beside him. Red Hawk posted archers, but forbade the first arrow. Aurora rode her roan into view, palms high. Clay demanded, "The ghost skin girl." Red Hawk answered in rough Spanish, "She is wife by choice." Crow fired, nicking rock. Hawk Eyes' arrow pinned his hat. Bullets and arrows traded, but, miracle swift, no one fell. Aurora blocked Clay's line of fire. Shame cooled his trigger. Red Hawk lassoed him, then let him stand. Crow, furious, drew a derringer at Aurora. Little Fox tackled him. Red Hawk's lance pinned Crow's sleeve. Ranch hands, stunned by mercy, threw down belts of ammo and rode off with Clay, who left wordless but changed. Eaglefeather mixed the dropped cartridges into the forge. Metal meant for killing now feeds plows. Night saw Aurora and Red Hawk on the ridge, watching moonlight gild the ammunition heap, proof a battle can end without graves. Bullet brass became slim plough blades. Aurora and Little Fox quenched them, steam curling like tame ghosts. Water was thinning, so Aurora sketched an aqueduct up the canyon wall. Hawks doubted, thirst agreed. While stone was hauled, Eagle Feather set her to carving a cedar flute. She whittled until resin perfumed the noon heat, then coaxed a single clear note that sent a hawk wheeling. At sunset, she led a terrace planting line, women, warriors, even hawk eyes pressing sunflower seeds into turquoise-specked loam. Jacob's Bible verse, swords to plowshares, hovered in her mind. When a diamondback coiled by the seedbed, Aurora blew one calm tone. The snake slid away. Laughter replaced whispers. That night, her new flute and Red Hawk's old one braided river song with a Spanish lullaby. Under starlight, seedlings and hearts alike reached for something larger than doubt. Sunflower shoots burst green against the canyon wall only 9 dawns after planting, tiny but defiant. Aurora knelt to brush their leaves, dirt cooling her knees, when Little Fox galloped in wild-eyed. Dust on the southern flats, 20 riders, uniforms, Mexican rurales, not ranch hands, and at their center a wagon flying a white flag smudged with a black cross. Word sprinted through camp, bows were strung, rifles checked, but Red Hawk bade no arrow loosed until intent was clear. They met the column at the choke pass. Captain Evaristo Reyes, half-brother to peddler Mateo, rode tall in blue serge, saber bright. He lifted gloved hand. "We seek a fugitive outlaw, Deacon Crow." Witnesses saw him flee here. Aurora's pulse stumbled. Crow's beads lay in her medicine pouch. Red Hawk replied, "No outlaw shelters under my fire. Search will show truth if done with honor." Reyes agreed to enter with 5 men, unarmed. Hawkeyes bristled but obeyed. The rurales crossed the gate, and the camp's quiet swallowed their boot-clacks. They inspected lodges, smithy, terraces where green spears pierced soil. Reyes's gaze lingered on Aurora's pale braid, yet held no scorn, only curiosity. "Your father's saddle prints still wet on the road," he noted in accented English. "You are safe here?" "By my own choosing," she said. She offered him a sunflower shoot. He pocketed it gently. Inspection revealed nothing until a scout found fresh horse droppings near the ravine. Reyes's sergeant knelt, touched, sniffed. Ironweed, same feed Crow stole at Agua Fria. Tension drew arrows taut. Reyes faced Red Hawk. "If the outlaw hides, honor demands you surrender him." Hawkeyes growled, ready to fight, but Aurora stepped forward. "Honor also demands proof." She whistled the river song through her flute. The tune echoed off cliffs. From a crevice 20 paces away, a pistol barked, Crow's voice cursing mercy itself. Bullets sparked stone, one slicing Aurora's sleeve. Before Bows could answer, Little Fox tackled her aside, and Red Hawk hurled his lance. Wood struck Crow's shoulder, pistol clattered downslope. Reyes's rurales swarmed, binding Crow with rawhide. Blood dripped bright on turquoise dust. The outlaw spat at Aurora. "Ghost enchantress! Should have traded you for bullets!" Hawkeyes raised knife to silence him, but Aurora blocked the blow. "No more blood," she said, pressing Crow's own turquoise beads into his palm. "You forgot their weight." Reyes watched, brow furrowed. "You spare the man who shot you?" "Mercy buys more than coffins," she answered, echoing Red Hawk's creed. The captain ordered his men to lift Crow into the wagon. "He will hang in Chihuahua City, but your law of mercy I will remember." Before leaving, he produced a leather-bound ledger. "Land grants in these canyons are blurred. I can file protection papers naming this valley communal farmland, harder for outsiders to seize." Red Hawk accepted, surprised. Aurora handed Reyes a satchel of sunflower seeds. "Plant them at every checkpoint," she advised. He smiled and saluted. When the dust of departure settled, Hawkeyes exhaled a growl. "Spare the viper, and you invite more fangs." "Perhaps," Red Hawk said, But today we bled only one shoulder, not 20 hearts." He clapped the captain's arm. "Your bow was steady." That evening camp gathered under a bruised lavender sky. Eagle-feather mixed crows dropped cartridge with cornmeal, casting it into the fire. "Metal that sought death now feeds flame," he intoned. Aurora played her flute, its notes wove through smoke, carrying a new code: strike to defend, bind the wounded, spare the fallen when choice remains. Children repeated the refrain until it etched into dusk like words on wet clay. Later, Red Hawk joined Aurora by the sprouting terrace. Blood from her grazed arm dotted her sleeve like red petals. He kissed the wound, then the earth where the sunflower shoots trembled. "Roots grow deeper after storm," he whispered. "And bridges stand taller," she replied, fingers twining with his above the fragile green. In the hush between coyotes' cries, they listened to seedlings drink starlight, proof that mercy, too, can take root in hard soil. 3 weeks of uneasy calm turned the sunflower terrace into a living banner, green leaves wider than Hawkeye's palms. But midsummer heat gnawed the spring. Buckets returned half full, and children cupped dust where water once shimmered. Red Hawk called counsel. "A garden needs a river," he said. Aurora raised Jacob's weathered Bible, open to the underlined verse about swords and plowshares. "Iron fed the soil," she reminded them, tapping the sunflower rows. "Let stone feed the roots." Her plan rose in chalk on a flat boulder, an aqueduct carved along the canyon wall. Catching mesa seep and tilting it towards cisterns below, Red Hawk traced the slope with his spear. "Stone for every clan that eats," he decreed. Even Hawkeye's grunted assent. Thirst was a tyrant no arrow could kill. Jacob arrived at dawn 2 days later, wagons stacked with cedar beams and iron chisels scavenged from abandoned mines. Clay Benton trailed behind, hat in hand. "Dry wells make strange allies," he muttered. Warriors watched the ranchers unload tools. When Hawkeye scoffed, "Why trust men who aimed rifles at us?" Clay replied, "Because our kids cry for water the same as yours." The answer rang truer than any oath. Work began beneath a merciless sun. Women broke boulders with iron wedges. Men levered them into a scaffold of cedar and rawhide lashings. Little Fox dangled from rope, chipping spillways, while Aurora marked gradient with a level fashioned from gourd, water, and faith. At noon she soaked a rag and draped it over Hawkeye's neck. The captain blinked, then shared his last dried fruit ration without a word. By the 7th dusk, blisters shone like garnets on every palm. Eagle-feather scattered sage smoke, urging spirits to soften stone and spine alike. Aurora's voice cracked as she led a work chant, half Spanish hymn, half Apache river song. Jacob clapped time. Clay Benton, surprised by his own voice, joined the refrain. The melody echoed off canyon walls, sounding like a single people instead of 2 wary camps. On the 9th morning they reached the mesa seep. Red Hawk hammered a final cedar peg and nodded to Aurora. She wedged the last stone plug. All eyes followed as Jacob and Hawkeyes together pried the stopper free. A silver ribbon hissed out, leaping along the channel, spilling into the first clay cistern with a joyous slap. Children shrieked. Women cupped hands to catch the cold blessing, splashing faces and sunflower leaves. Clay Benton tipped his hat under the cascade, water dripping from brim like tears he'd never risked shedding. Eagle-feather lifted a bowl of the new water to the sky. "Stone once divided this valley," he proclaimed. "Now it carries life." He turned, offered the bowl first to Aurora. She drank, passed it to Red Hawk, who passed it to Jacob, then Clay. When the rim touched every mouth, the elder poured the remainder onto the roots of the tallest sunflower. Green stalk shivered as if applauding. That night, fires ringed the new cistern. Venison, squash, and chilies simmered in the largest pot the camp owned. Hawkeyes stood, cleared his throat. "When the spring runs low again," he said, "my bowstring and Jacob's hammer will tighten the channel together." Laughter rumbled, rough, disbelieving, but real. Later, beneath scent of wet earth, Aurora sat beside the flowing conduit. Red Hawk placed a single turquoise bead on the ledge. "From the beads, crow meant for bullets," he said. "Water sings through stone, because you believed iron could change." Aurora rested her head on his shoulder, listening to the steady rush. Proof that bridges of mercy can harden into aqueducts of survival. A harvest moon, swollen and low, climbed the canyon sky like a copper shield. Its light slid along the new aqueduct in a ribbon of fire, turning every drop to molten metal. Eagle Feather had chosen this night, first full moon after water returned, to seal Aurora's place among them. Word rode far: Mescalero cousins, Chiricahua scouts, clay-dusted ranch hands, even Mateo Reyes's peddler cart rattled in with bolts of calico and a wheel of hard cheese. "When water flows, trade follows," he winked. Four fires blazed at the cardinal points of the medicine circle. Their sparks whirled upward, braiding with constellations that bore different names in Spanish hymnals and Apache myth, yet mapped the same heavens. Aurora approached from the east, hair unbound, wearing a dress Singing Water had stitched, duskin dyed moon-white with yucca root, hem beaded in turquoise crescents. Red Hawk met her at the circle's mouth, palm extended but not possessive. She took it, feeling the scar across his knuckles where Crow's bullet had grazed weeks ago, a reminder that every piece bears seams. Eagle Feather's voice rolled like distant thunder. First he spoke Apache, then Jacob Marlowe echoed in English so every ear could carry the blessing. "Tonight we name the bridge, who turned bullets to plows and strangers to neighbors." Jacob's hands shook, but his translation never faltered. From the northern fire, Dreamweaver sprinkled ground sage over Aurora's shoulders, "to hide your scent from sorrow." Little Fox followed, draping a necklace of hammered brass leaves, cut from the same casings once aimed at their hearts. Clay Benton stepped forward last, offering a silver spur engraved honor. "Metal remembers what hands teach it," he said, voice rough. Hawkeye's grunted assent and fastened the spur to Aurora's sash himself. Eagle Feather dipped an eagle feather in turquoise-tinted water and flicked droplets onto her hair. "Na chi chique, white moon," he intoned. Red Hawk repeated the name in Spanish, Jacob in English. 3 tongues, 1 echo. The circle hummed, as if stone itself vibrated with the syllables. Custom called for the name to speak. Aurora stepped to the aqueduct where water whispered through cedar sluices. "I came here a curse," she said, voice carrying across the hush. "Tonight, I am a promise. May every child, brown, pale, or sun-spotted, drink from this same stream and know they belong." She cupped water, let it fall over the spur, bright rivulets racing along the honor lettering. Singing Water struck a drum. Dancers filed in, Apache sash dancers, ranch boys stomping half-remembered polkas, mescalero women twirling calico skirts. Aurora lifted her cedar flute. The first note wavered, then steadied as Red Hawk joined, weaving the river song around a Spanish lullaby Ruth Marlowe once sang. Jacob closed his eyes. Tears tracked dust from his cheeks. When the music paused, Eagle Feather scattered cornmeal to the 4 winds. A breeze carried the flakes across the canyon, as if invisible hands accepted the offering. Children chased the fluttering specks, laughing, their shadows long and mingled on moonlit sand. Close to midnight, Red Hawk guided Aurora to a rise above the circle. Sunflowers nodded below, silver-tipped in lunar glow. He placed a turquoise bead on her palm. "Stone fed water. Water feeds seed. Seed feeds sky," he whispered. "And you feed hope." Aurora folded her fingers over the bead, then lifted his hand to her heartbeat. They stood so until drumbeats, laughter, and the hush of flowing water fused into a single cadence, a proof that one night, beneath an indifferent moon, many hearts had chosen to beat together. First light stole softly over Stonewater Valley, brushing sunflowers into bronzed halos. The stream in the cedar sluice kept its night music, promising another day when thirst would not govern fate. Smoke from breakfast fires rose straight, no wind, no omen of trouble. Aurora felt the hush like a held breath. Beginnings often masquerade as calm. Eagle feather rang the clay bell. Clans and ranchers gathered near the cistern. The elder held 2 rawhide strips, one dyed canyon ochre, the other moon white. Twisting them into a single loop, he lifted it to the newborn sun. Spirits ask what promise you make to White Moon and to each other. His gaze swept Red Hawk, Jacob, Clay, Hawkeyes, children clutching wooden eagles, Mescalero visitors still humming last night's lullaby. Jacob stepped first, knees unsteady but voice sure. Each new moon I'll bring seed and salt, so no garden here fails. He set a pouch of wheat kernels at Aurora's feet. The first crop his revived ranch had yielded since foreclosure threats faded. Clay Benton followed, clearing his throat. Every Triple B hand will learn to mend a broken sluice before polishing a rifle. He placed a coil of fresh copper wire beside the seeds. Hawkeyes smirked, but did not object. Little Fox approached with a sapling cottonwood. "Shade," he said, digging heel into loam. Aurora helped him plant it. Water from the aqueduct shimmered at its roots. At last, Red Hawk spoke. "I give her the whole horizon," he declared, lifting Aurora onto a smooth boulder so dawn touched her soles. "And every safe trail between your doors and ours." Aurora, standing barefoot in first light, answered, "And I give all of you my song." She raised her cedar flute. A gentle melody unfurled, part river chant, part Spanish lullaby, part hymn of fields. People closed eyes, some mouthed silent prayers. Jacob wore peace like a new coat he'd finally grown into. Ceremony ended. Practical work began. Mixed crews trained on a telegraph wire strung from mesa to valley mouth. Jacob's poles, Mateo's tools, Hawkeye's tension pulleys. Messages of flood, herd movement, or strangers would soon travel faster than hooves. Women marked new terraces for winter greens. Children carried flat brass trowels, fashioned from the last pile of cartridge metal. Near midday, a small dust cloud rose on the western track. Captain Reyes returned, alone this time, bearing stamped papers, communal land title filed in Chihuahua City. He slid the folded parchment into Red Hawk's hand. "Ink can sometimes guard what rifles threaten," he said. Aurora tucked a turquoise bead inside the document, a seal no courthouse clerk could catalogue. That evening, torchlight traced the valley, like constellations fallen to earth. Aurora saddled her roan and rode the rim with Red Hawk. Below, mingled camps glowed amber. Laughter drifted upward with mesquite smoke. She touched the spur engraved honor on her sash, then the cedar horse from her father, then the eagle carving, 3 talismans jangling with each hoof step. On the highest ridge, she dismounted. The horizon blushed lavender where mountains met sky. Aurora pointed west. "Home," she whispered, the word she'd spoken on naming night, but added, "Both homes." Red Hawk wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "Both," he echoed. Behind them, water sang tireless and forgiving. Ahead, the world widened, unwritten. Somewhere in dusk, a coyote called, not mourning, but heralding the simple fact that dawn would come again, stranger to no one. If Aurora's journey from outcast to bridge builder reminded you that compassion can turn bullets into plowshares and strangers into family, share your own thoughts below. Tell us where you've seen mercy rewrite a story, or what part of White Moon's tale spoke loudest to you, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you're here for the next adventure beneath the wide open sky.